This is the Concealed Carry Podcast, Season 13, Episode 11. And welcome to the Concealed Carry Podcast, part of the concealedcarry.com network, brought to you by HK. Today is Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, March 19th.
Correct.
Feels like Wednesday for some reason to me.
It's been a rough couple weeks.
It's hard to keep track of the days as we've been working pretty hard and heavy on a big project here. But we're glad to be with you and able to squeeze in a podcast episode with you all this week. Of course, I'm your host, Riley Bowman, joined today by co-host
Jacob Paulsen.
Jacob, the man who just loves his Garmin watch. I know we've already talked about that before.
I love my Garmin watch.
I just know he never gets tired of being all psyched up about his.
It is awesome. It's epic. It's the best. I mean, I don't know. If you don't have a Garmin, you're wrong.
As mentioned, today is it's always brought to you by HK as our title sponsor of the podcast. We got a legislative news and legal updates episode for you today. A lot of great stuff and also not so great stuff happening across the country. We've got some awesome stuff happening in the courts that are going in our favor on Second Amendment issues. We've got things at the state levels that are going our direction. Wyoming's a great example of that.
Yes, killing it.
But then we have some things going on, like Virginia is ground zero right now for some major stuff.
Unbelievable.
Probably the most aggressive anti-gun legislative session in their history.
Yeah.
Maybe anybody's history.
Yeah, the whole package is just wild.
It's nuts. So while the courts have been delivering some big wins for gun owners, there's stuff going on. Virginia's governor has a stack of anti-gun bills on her desk right now and a deadline of April 13th, I think, to sign or not sign those.
And then we anticipate, I think that the consensus is that she'll probably sign most, if not all of them.
Yeah,
it's going to be real ugly.
Known to be not the most friendly to the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
So this is where we say, things like elections have consequences, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's going to get real.
We know what that's like, unfortunately, here in Colorado. But we're feeling for our folks out there in Virginia right now. But first, today's episode sponsored by CCW Safe. That is our choice, our preferred partner, if you will, for legal protection for concealed carriers and gun owners alike. If you're looking for the best defense coverage, meaning that you use a gun or a weapon in personal defense, defending yourself, your family, your household, or a random person on the street, because you decide that's the right call to make and you decide to save somebody's life, it's the aftermath that often is, besides everything else that could happen, including emotional trauma and all that, but the legal aftermath can be huge and heavy to navigate. So
yeah, no bueno.
You want a good partner like CCW Safe. It looked like you were going to say something there.
Yeah, no, it's just, in fact, earlier today I was having some conversations with some people, a series of people, who recently told me they had switched from a competitor of CCW Safe to CCW Safe, and they were telling me the reasons why. And there was all over the board. Like we had one person was saying that it came down to just the best coverage. Like, I just compared the coverage and that was the best.
Yeah.
Like, on paper, like, apples to apples, CCW Safe was better. Another one was, really frustrated with some of the language they found in the agreement in their current provider that they didn't know was there, that was highly concerning. So that's why they switched over to CCW Safe, whose agreement is so easy to read. Like, it's just, there's nothing like weird or complicated about it.
Yep.
And then a third person I was talking to this morning, this happens to be on my mind right now today. And the third person had said they were switching because it was an expense issue. Like their other provider, they basically were buying two different plans for them and their spouse. So switching to CCW Safe just saved them a ton of money. So anyway, the reasons to choose CCW Safe are many, but at the end of the day, it's about actually, like, you're talking about something you're not likely to ever need. You're spending money that hopefully is just wasted. That you'll never need that money. Like, you'll never have any need of the product. But in the off chance that you do, it would really suck if they don't really come to bat for you. If they don't really solve the problem you've been paying them all those years or however long it's been to solve. And so I think it makes sense to invest in the highest quality product.
Agreed. I mean, we have things like insurance for our homes,
Yeah.
vehicles, of course, but I'm thinking like homes, like, right, because if your home was to catch on fire and burn to the ground today, I hope not, right? But uh, if you didn't have insurance on that, that would be devastating, like dang near unrecoverable. I mean, just
Super
the
bad.
right. I mean, because so the probability is low, but the potential, consequences are super high. Like if it were to happen, it would be just absolutely devastating. And that's exactly what we're talking about here with coverage like CCW Safe. The probability is low, but if it were to happen, and particularly if the circumstances are, or you just have a really aggressive DA for whatever reason where you're located, I mean, things can be really, really bad for you. So have a plan for what happens after. And CCW Safe is that plan. Check them out, ccwsafe.com. Today's episode also sponsored by the Concealed Carry Gun Tools mobile app, available in the Apple App Store or Google. Do they still call it the Google
Yeah.
Play Store?
Play Store, correct.
Yeah, I don't know.
Google Play Store.
It feels like it's such a weird name for it's the Google Play Store. Not everything in there is for play, but anyway.
I have no comment. I did not name it, but I'm picking up what you put down.
Anyway,
But not everything
the
in the Apple
Google
App Store is an
Play
app.
Store. This is just my opportunity to get a little dig. This is a very, very small dig at Jacob because Team Android, Team Apple, it is what it is.
Apple sucks.
Yeah, he was singing in praises a moment ago of one of the cool features.
You give credit where credit's due.
Yeah. But anyway, you guys check out the app. Why do people want to have our all-in-one resource?
Today we're going to talk about legislative updates, for example, and in our app you can keep track of all these stories. All right, we have the news feed is very clean; it's easy to scroll through and get a sense for what's going on. Also, these things impact the law, and so that app is, in my opinion, the most comprehensive and yet simple and easy to use and read legal reference library for gun owners.
Yeah. There you go.
Real easy to pick a state and just read all the gun laws.
It's super helpful. I mean, we travel frequently enough. I mean, pretty commonly.
Yeah.
That it's handy to just have that at the fingertips and be like, hey, where are we going today?
Yeah.
I mean, in actually really next week, a week from today, we'll be on our way to Texas.
Tejas, yeah.
Which we've spent a lot of time in Texas over the years, but it's good refresher to pull up the app and see the legal summary of all the different laws and issues, things we got to keep in mind. Do we have to notify law enforcement or not if we're pulled over, if we're carrying, stuff like that. Of course, Texas has their 30-6 and 30-7 rules with regards to posting of, firearms or no firearms allowed on premises and so forth. And so all of that's just right there in the app, and you can read it for yourself at your fingertips.
Yeah,
so,
very easy.
And of course, the reciprocity map is super handy too, especially since we're going to be on the road. We're going to drive from Colorado. We're going to go right down, most likely through the corner of New Mexico.
Sure.
And right over into Texas.
Yeah, we'll have a couple states we have to deal with.
Yeah. Easy to check reciprocity on the way. Well, as we mentioned, today is the legislative updates episode, and so we got a lot of stories to cover. We'll try to go through this as efficiently as we can. That's a challenge when I think we have 8 stories today to cover, and all about a variety of interesting topics all across the board, both wins and losses and challenges and good things happening. But first up, we have here.
Well, real quick.
Oh, go, dude.
I was just going to add that we could have easily have had 40 stories.
Right.
And not just because it's been a little while since we did a legislative update, but because 'tis the season where your legislators are doing things. And so the intent here is to focus on things that actually have crossed a finish line. The governor's actually signed a bill into law. Or in a couple of cases of the ones we're going to cover, they're sort of the ones that's like, this is likely to cross the finish line and you need to know about it. And then, of course, we're always looking for court decisions that are impactful, that are relevant, that we need to cover. But, I'm just pointing out, like, there's a ton of things been going on in New Mexico and West Virginia and a lot of these states that we're not, I don't remember what all made it into the list, but we can't cover it all. So, you do need to have a mechanism, a system in place that allows you to at least keep track of what's going on in your own state, because you might have some things that are on the docket that we're not going to cover.
Yep, for sure. And those of you joining us live, appreciate you and appreciate your comments. Feel free to drop any comments or questions you may have. We can't promise we can address things live all the time, especially if it's not related to what we're talking about because we just don't have the time to cover everything. But there were, like, to your point, we are in the midst of the legislative season.
Yes.
Traditionally, most and some states have legislative stuff that happens year round. Most often, it's January through March, January through April,
Yeah.
January through May. So we are like right in the middle of that. And there's a lot going on, and there simply is too much for us to cover in all the different respective states, even just on Second Amendment issues. So we have tried to pick the most critical stuff. So first up, story number one. This is on the federal legislative front. Not sure what the chances are of this like really getting through, but it's exciting nonetheless, as we are always excited about such things.
Yeah.
And that is getting a national concealed carry reciprocity law on the books.
Reread that.
National Constitutional Carry Act.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is not about reciprocity. This is about if this bill became law, and there's one both in the House and in the Senate. And the way it's written, if this were to somehow get through and be signed by the president, basically you have constitutional carry. It upends the need of a permit anywhere in the country. If legally able possess gun, then legally able carry gun in public everywhere.
Right. Yeah, no, I was just thinking like reciprocity.
We've been there.
Yeah, it was a Freudian slip, but yes, the point is that we'd be able to just carry guns like we should be able to, like those of us that are true believers, if you will, have wanted this forever.
Yeah.
So the right to carry a gun whenever, however, well, maybe not wherever.
I mean, there could be some potentially violent restrictions. But I mean, you have 29 states that already have a resolution like this, right?
Constitutional carry law. Yeah.
So not quite 3/4, but a lot.
Not even quite 2/3.
Not quite 2/3. Okay, Riley's doing fancy math.
Yeah, because 2/3 would be just over 33 states.
Okay, half of 66. So the point is, we have a lot of states, though. A lot of states, more than half, who have and are building a track record of constitutional carry being viable.
Yeah.
But I don't think this is likely to get through.
Yeah, I agree, unfortunately, with that there are so many other priorities. And I'm not saying they're my priorities or your priorities.
Oh, sure.
But there's so many other priorities that the House and the Senate have clearly on their table that they think are important, that are critical, that they're trying to make happen. And since this is not part of a funding bill, you've basically got to get past the filibuster with something like this in the Senate, which is going to require more than 2/3 support, and it's just not
there.
Unfortunately going to happen.
No, it's not there.
And so that's pretty much what we're faced with. But again, the bill, if passed, would make national constitutional carry the law of the land. It's worth at least at the very least contacting your particular senators, because this is actually the most recent bill introduced just this month, which is Senate Bill 4013 by Senator Mike Lee out of Utah. It has a companion bill in the House, which was introduced by Thomas Massey back last year. So you can contact your state senators, your state or your U.S. representatives, and express your support for this and your importance that they, believe in and support the Second Amendment as written in the Constitution. And that certainly can't hurt to be active and engaged and encourage the passage of things like this. So, yeah.
I mean, it sounds very exciting. It's the kind of thing that maybe we just got to keep on throwing it at the board, and one day it'll stick.
You know darn well, if something like this were to pass, that states like New York, California, New Jersey, and so forth, Hawaii probably would do everything in their power to fight against it.
Oh, sure.
To make it as difficult as possible, to restrict things as much as possible.
We already are seeing that post Bruin, right?
Right.
The switch from may issue to shall issue has already driven states to be like, oh crap. Like just the possibility that someone could get a permit now means we got to lock all this stuff down. Yeah, you take away the permits, and I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is the good news is a lot of the things that they potentially could do, they're already doing, and we're already fighting those things.
Yeah.
And winning.
That's right. Well, speaking of winning, I mean, we are winning in the courts. That much is clear. You mentioned Bruin. Bruin has become such a landmark decision, in the likes of Heller and McDonald.
Mm-hmm.
Bruin is just, I mean, what a phenomenal
The
decision.
biggest nail in that coffin for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, so let me establish a little bit of a framework for a lot of what we're going to discuss for, I mean, pretty much the rest of this episode here today is because of Supreme Court rulings like Bruin tied together with Heller and McDonald, especially Heller. You've essentially created this. Uh, it's almost like a 2-point test. It's sort of like, okay, is thing a protected arm or not? Right? Is it a gun, whether it's a gun, a magazine, or we're going to talk about some ammo issues as well. Is it a protected arm or not?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then if so, and part of that, by the way, is common use test, right?
Sure.
So part of that is if it's, if it's an arm, part of that protected piece is it in common use, right? And bringing that therefore fully into the protection of the Second Amendment for common people to possess and own and so forth and carry, right? And so that's really kind of the first thing. And then the second thing, if that's true, is then oh, my brain just went blank.
It's about historical analogs.
Historical, thank you. Yeah, if there's a historical precedent for something, for a particular restriction, for example,
yes,
or not, and if that doesn't exist, then it becomes really difficult to overcome, Bruin. I mean, that's pretty much what it's standing in the way.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of the sequence from the Supreme Court over the last 50 years is like, yes, people can have a gun to protect themselves in their home, and then, oh yes, people can have a gun to protect themselves in public, and then it's like, oh, and yes, you can't restrict that right beyond what is demonstrably critical for public safety unless there's a historical analog.
Yeah,
that's kind of the sequence that we followed out of Supreme Court Second Amendment related decisions.
Yeah,
and it's paying off.
We still see. I'm going to bring something up here as part of this discussion. I remember growing up, like a big debate, including at the federal and the court level, had to do with the interpretation of the Second Amendment. Does it or does it not protect an individual's right to possess or carry a gun?
Right, versus a militia or a group.
Right. And today's court has really, I mean, we have moved well beyond
that.
that.
Sure. That one was settled some time ago.
You still see that debated by those on the left in particular.
Sure, they may not agree, but
right. But today's court has, I mean, like, it's an assumption. Like, I mean, Heller, McDonald.
Heller too.
Yeah, Heller too, really established. No, this is like the language of the Second Amendment is clear. And so then it really just, it comes down to these two key things. Is it a protected arm? And if so, does it pass the historical test, basically? And it's not even so much about the right path. It really is. It's more focused on the restrictive part of it. Does the restriction have a historical basis?
Yeah, the assumption is it's covered by your Second Amendment rights.
Yep.
And if not, then prove by showing that we have a historical tradition of
fighting. I just bring that up just because, again, growing up, I remember these debates when I was younger, and like it was like, what does the Second Amendment mean? Like that was where the focus was. What does it mean? And we've really moved and transcended beyond that. And I think it's just remarkable we've witnessed that in our lifetime.
There's more coming.
Yeah.
I think that in the next 5 years, we'll have at least one, if not two more Supreme Court gun-related decisions.
And I think where we're at right now, including so now we'll get into some of these cases that are ongoing, is going to be sort of an expansion or not, but I'm hoping for, and certainly it looks like we're headed in this direction, an expansion of what constitutes a protected arm.
Sure.
So magazines and ammo in particular are the things I'm thinking of.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and those have both been pretty cleared up.
Yeah. First story then out of court decisions is the DC court rules, this is the DC Court of Appeals, that the magazine ban that they've had there, limiting magazines to no more than 10 rounds, is unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Big news.
This is huge. Now, so the DC Court of Appeals, for some context, remember that because DC is not a state, there's some things there that don't jive in our normal like vernacular and framework. But the DC Court of Appeals is the equivalent of a state Supreme Court for DC. So that gives you some context of like who this court is and the level at which this case has risen. It's like a district court decision in the sense that it creates it's one step away from the Supreme Court. Like that's where it's at. It's
Right.
like a federal district court.
Well, yeah. So I mean, you've got, if you think about it, like all the states are part of different circuits, right, and or districts, and you got the first or the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals,
Right.
and the DC Court of Appeals is just DC,
Right.
So it's this 11th.
It's like it's its own little district.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it is, like, to your point, it's on that level of, and this ruling, which is a 2-to-1 ruling. So
it's not the full court.
right. This is in opposition to other rulings that have occurred in the First, the Seventh, and the Ninth Circuits,
Right.
that have upheld magazine
Right.
capacity.
It creates the split that would be necessary for a Supreme Court to look at it.
Right.
That's the critical.
So now you have split courts at the federal level,
Right.
and one of the jobs by Constitution that the Supreme Court has is resolve things.
Yeah, resolve this.
Especially where there's differences between states, differences between these different districts or circuits. And so that's what's really exciting about this particular ruling is, okay, now we have a ruling. Now it's going to likely be appealed.
I mean, at very least, they probably asked for the full
right,
court,
which is
En
referred to as
banc.
an en banc review. And so that's that. So in other words, it's not totally done and settled, but if you're in DC, at the very least, as of right now, I mean, this
You should
law
be buying
is,
lots of big mags.
yeah, this law is thrown out. Okay. Until otherwise, unless there's a further review that's going to take place, an injunction that could potentially happen as a result of that, or again, the next big major step would be, hey, will the Supreme Court take up a major, hopefully potentially landmark style case that further again expands what's considered a protected arm.
Right. Yeah, and this is a big deal. I mean, it's really exciting. It talks about, if you read the decision written by the judges, they talk a lot about common use on this one.
Yeah.
Which you talked a little bit about earlier. But the idea is like, well, are 15-round, 17-round pistol mags common use in this country? Are 30-round rifle mags common use in this country? The answer is yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Great. Have you looked around? So, just because they're not common use in Washington, D.C., that's not good enough, because this is a U.S. Constitution protected right. So clearly these magazines are common use.
There are hundreds and hundreds of millions of standard capacity magazines in existence that are in use today.
Yeah. Yeah.
It reminds me, Jacob, do you remember when the 15-round limit, law was passed here in Colorado in early 2013, if I recall?
July 1st, 2013.
There were a bunch of rallies and different things that were happening all kind of during that time frame, during the time that they were pushing the law and passing the law. And of course there was a space until it went into effect, July 1st, as you mentioned, that year. And I remember there was this big rally in, I think, Glendale, which is a small little municipality, kind of right sandwiched in the middle of Denver. And Magpul was I don't know if they were directly as a company involved or not, but I remember they dropped, like, it was a ton. It was thousands and thousands and thousands of magazines, like, just basically gave them away.
Yeah.
Because, and I was thinking about that, like,
they just did it in Virginia.
We want this to be like, they are already, I think, considered common use, but like, let's proliferate that even more, kind of thing.
Yeah, this has become tradition. Like 2 weeks ago, Magpul went to Virginia and started handing out free mags.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I just don't know what to think about this stuff. I don't know. I just don't know where the I think from a court perspective, I would imagine if I was on this judge panel, I'd be like, where did we get 10 from?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So if I was looking at the Colorado one, I'm like, where did the number 15, like, show me the data that suggests that there's some public safety factor that's achieved if we can keep magazines at 10 or 15, whatever the number is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, it's arbitrary. Like, we're just picking a number out of a hat, basically. Yep. And so that can't pass any sort of constitutional muster.
Whatever feels good for them.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Super crazy. Well, anyway, we'll see how that goes. I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, hopefully there's a major Supreme Court case that puts this one to rest in the next year or couple of years.
That would be
Hope
good.
it happens sooner rather than later. Next up, post office gun ban unconstitutional.
Yeah. So a federal court based out of Texas basically was looking at a case that involved, the possession of gun inside a post office, which the U.S. code disallows, does not allow for.
Mhm.
And so the plaintiffs sought an injunction to temporarily stop the enforcement of this U.S. law until the lawsuit is fully decided, settled.
Mhm.
And so the federal court heard arguments relative to that injunction, and they granted the injunction.
Mhm.
So the case is not settled. The lawsuit continues. It's not over. But in the interim, they're basically saying, hey, this is like signaling. This is like saying, based on the arguments we've heard, it doesn't sound like this is going to go well for whatever we call it. Is it? I don't think it's a defendant in this case. But the plaintiffs sound like they got a good case here. And so until we fully settle this out, we're going to go ahead and grant their injunction and just kill the application of this law.
Mhm.
Now, this can get people in trouble because where this gets confusing is generally when you have injunctions like this, what happens is that they don't apply to like everybody in America. The court doesn't have that's not how they apply it. They're like, okay, then this law is no longer enforceable anywhere in America. That's not how it works. They generally would make it not enforceable for the plaintiffs.
Right.
Now that can get complicated when the plaintiff is the Second Amendment Foundation or the Firearm Policy Coalition or Gun Owners of America or the NRA. It's just like, well, who is that we're granted the injunction to? So in this case, the court specified, I've never seen this before, by the way, that all members of the two organizations that are named as plaintiffs, I can't remember which ones. I think it's Second Amendment Foundation and
Firearms Policy Coalition.
Firearms Policy Coalition. So not all members are granted are part of this injunction, and all future members.
Now, is that the part that you're referring to? You've never seen before.
Never seen future
is the
members.
future part that's included.
Yeah. So many times we've seen, hey, if you're a member of X organization that's named as a plaintiff on this lawsuit, then you're granted this injunction. That's semi-regular. But I've never seen it before specifically said and future members.
Yeah.
So if you're not a member of the Firearm Policy Coalition, you could go join today, and this injunction now applies to you. You now can carry guns into a post office.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other important thing, so that's the first important clarification is you need to be a member of one of these organizations because they're listed as plaintiffs in this suit. And the other thing is that you need to understand it's an injunction.
Right.
So
it's not settled.
Right. I mean, the law actually still exists. It's just that under the injunction, it's not supposed to be enforceable.
Temporarily unenforceable.
Right. So the problem with that is that okay, so let's say, Jacob, I wanted to go to the post office today, and I'm going to carry there because I saw this in the news, and I'm like, yeah, hey, I can carry in post offices now.
Yeah.
Well, let's suppose you get found out, you print or whatever, you're discovered, it's reported, some kind of federal agent arrests you. They may very well arrest you still. They may very well charge you.
I'd say it's likely you're going to get arrested.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you are now better informed on post office gun bans than probably like all law enforcement anyway. Like it's just not the kind of thing that goes out. Now, sometimes courts will require, like as part of this kind of thing, they may require that the attorney general distribute information to law enforcement in a given area or district. I don't know if that's the case on this one, but I just think that generally speaking, you should expect that. I would not go open carry an AR-15 into a post office.
Oh, yeah, don't do that.
That's probably not in your best interest.
Yeah, but yeah, so essentially, probably the best thing to do is to consult an attorney before you consider carrying into a post office. We are not attorneys, and we are not here offering legal advice.
And this is not a sales pitch, but there is always stamps.com.
Yes. Maybe they should be a sponsor of the podcast.
Maybe they should.
Anyway, but that's exciting to see. Again, I mean, this is a positive sign because, again, the injunction is issued because it is believed plaintiffs are likely to succeed on the merits of their case.
Right.
So we're moving in the direction that the signal is sent that there's a good chance that the post office ban against carrying of a firearm onto post office property gets thrown out. Now, again, one of the key things that's making this all possible is the Bruin decision,
Absolutely.
right? Because they went back and they're like, there's not a historical basis for bans of carrying guns in U.S. post offices. So can't enforce it.
Now there are going to be some exceptions, like they specify, like post offices that are on a military base, right, or post offices that may be in specific sensitive area. Maybe the post office is inside of a federal building.
Yeah, like
a court building or
yeah.
something. So that it's not some universe like, well, if it's a post office, but so there could still be some exceptions based on the sensitivity of where the post office is located.
Yeah, I mean, I used to work inside a federal facility that was fenced off in a federal building in that facility that had a post office inside that building.
Right.
That would be a great example of that's a no-go.
That's a no-go. That's right.
Under this injunction, especially.
That's right.
All righty. Next up, told you we were talking about ammo. Okay, so New Jersey, since 1978, has had a law prohibiting citizens from being able to possess hollow point ammunition.
Yeah, and they have some other name for it. I was trying to find it because it was something funny. Let's see. I'm going to find it while we're talking.
Yeah. So I'll give you kind of some of the details on this one while you find that, because I want to hear that. But so New Jersey has been well known for a lot of years, and there's been people, we've talked about people on the podcast. It's been a while. It's been a few years. But I remember we talked about a story a few years ago, someone that got caught and busted with hollow points in New Jersey. I think it was an individual that
he was traveling for work or something.
Had a gun or something that was loaded underneath his seat or in his glove box or something, got in an accident or something happened. And so anyway, it gets discovered, and big trouble to have hollow point ammunition in New Jersey. You can potentially spend 18 months in prison and face $10,000 in fines if you're caught with even just a single jacketed hollow point round in the state of New Jersey. And so that's been a law for all of my life, because I was not born yet in 1978. So kind of a big deal. What's going on here is that the Gun Owners of America and Coalition of New Jersey Firearm Owners and the Gun Owners Foundation has filed for summary judgment in federal court against this ammunition ban, and they are specifically using the Bruin decision as a test against this law that has existed for so long. They're arguing that, number one, hollow points are considered protected arms, that they are clearly protected by the Second Amendment. Okay, so that's why we talked about this, establish the framework in the beginning. And number two, that there is zero historical precedent for banning specific types of ammunition for defensive carry. Yeah, that's true, because until New Jersey passed that law in 1978, I don't think there's ever been a single other historical law, certainly, that where this sort of thing existed. And then that their third argument is that hollow points are the most commonly used self-defense ammunition used by both civilians and law enforcement. So again, tying it back to that common use base or standard.
I found it.
All right.
So for those, many of you are probably familiar with this New Jersey restriction, but you probably don't know the language that's actually used in the New Jersey statute.
Yeah, I don't.
Quoting here from 2C: 39-3, paragraph F. Dum-dum, that's spelled DUM-DUM. Dum-dum or armor-piercing ammunition, any person other than law enforcement officer or persons engaged in activities pursuant to subsection of who knowingly has in his possession any hollow nose or dum-dum bullet.
Yeah.
Dum-dum bullets.
If I'm not mistaken, dum-dum bullets are those that are specifically designed to tumble.
Yeah, but I mean hollow nose or dum-dum bullets.
Yeah, that's great.
So remember, this is written in the 70s, so you're going back far. So I just think it's hilarious that we're worried about the dum-dum bullets.
You haven't heard that I haven't heard that used in quite some time.
Oh, not since you were a kid and you read like Guns and Ammo
Yeah.
magazine or something. I mean, that's ancient stuff. So yes, not only are hollow points against the rule, hollow nose
Yeah.
bullets, but also dum-dums.
Yeah. I mean, we don't need to preach to you all. You know this already. We know this, of course, that hollow points are the responsible choice
Oh
for
yeah,
defensive use.
yeah.
You
If
know,
you go read the lawsuit, it's great because it talks about like this is the safe thing. Like this
Yeah.
is insanity. Like why would we want like more deadly ammunition?
That
Being carried?
1978 law became a thing because those legislators they bought into the hype that these were cop killing bullets.
Well, it's not too dissimilar from like suppressors. You know,
Yeah.
1934, we got mobsters and gangsters and suppressors. You know, silencers become a thing, and it's like we we buy into this concept that like that is associated with criminality.
Yeah.
And therefore, like let's stop criminality and ban that thing.
Yeah. And there's also been this misconception by those that do not understand gun stuff that because if you note that the way that law that statute was describing things, it included hollow point rounds along with armor piercing. And
Yeah.
I've heard this thrown out there before. People, for whatever reason, because they just don't understand it. It's outside of their, it's they just don't know that in their mind, hollow point rounds are more deadly, more dangerous, that they pierce body armor. I mean, this was like, remember the old black talons back in the 80s and
geez.
90s? And like, that was a big thing. Like news stations were doing stories about black talon bullets being armor piercing and extra deadly. And this law is exactly the sort of thing that just completely bought into that false hype surrounding those bullets. And so, and all it takes is for one gang member out there to stack his magazine with black talons and be like, and get interviewed off, anonymously by some journalist. Like, so why do you choose these? Because these are the cop killers, man. Like they're extra dangerous, and
right.
armor piercing.
Subject matter expert reports black talons are cop killers.
So anyway, we all know that the responsible thing is hollow points should be what are allowed, and that forcing concealed carriers to use ball ammo is inherently more dangerous.
Yeah, detrimental.
So hopefully that they win that lawsuit. I think that's exciting.
Yep.
It deserves a strong challenge, and the Bruin decision is is what has made this again possible to like really go after.
Yeah, sure.
Now we're on to state roundup. We're going to talk about some stories from Wyoming, West Virginia, and Michigan. Wyoming just passed three pro-gun bills. Jacob, your home state.
Yeah,
aren't you proud?
It's interesting too because one of these bills is very similar to a bill that was vetoed last year by the governor, and this year the governor signed it. And I don't know, what was different or caused him to change his mind, or if there was some additional thing that made him be okay with it. But I remember one of these getting similar bill getting vetoed last year. So
yeah.
I'm pretty excited about all these. I think that one of them is a real big deal. The other one's like, yeah, cool. The third one's like, yeah, for the random 10 people, this will impact.
Right. Because that's all that live in Wyoming.
We're talking about like a population of 500,000 people. Okay, like they like being spread. You don't live in Wyoming because you're a social person. You're like, yeah, I freaking love people, man. Go hang out at the clubs on the weekends before we hit the ball game. Like, no, we're talking about a state that has one university in the whole freaking state.
Right.
That's just keep the context in mind.
They have more like big name firearms manufacturers in their state than they do universities. Congratulations.
By like 10x. There's only one university. I thought we covered this. Yeah, no, like there's nothing there, man. Like,
I mean, you've had Weatherbeam move there.
Yeah. Stag Arms.
Caltech. Of course, Magpul moved some operations there back in 2013.
Most of the operation manufacturing. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some other accessories. High-vis sights moved up there.
Yeah.
You have some ammunition companies that have been flirting in and out of there.
Suppressor companies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to go over these three bills that were signed into law by Governor Gordon just recently. First, House Bill 96 Wyoming lowered the carry permit age from 21 to 18. And specifically, this is key because there was campus carry. It was passed in 2025,
Right.
but that could only apply to 21-year
No,
olds.
well, it applied. You had to have a
Well,
permit.
right, you had to have a
Yeah,
permit, but you
permit
couldn't get a permit
Right.
until you were 21.
Yeah.
So it effectively,
relevant context is that Wyoming is
Yeah.
a constitutional carry state.
yes,
So, but constitutional carry doesn't apply on a school
To the
campus.
campus.
You have to have a permit to carry on the campus as of 2025. Before that, campus carry was just not okay.
right,
So, constitutional carry, yes, but no campus carry. That's restricted. Oh, okay. Now we're going to allow campus carry, but only with a permit. But obviously, that means 18, 19, 20-year-olds who are on campus can't carry like they're 21-year-old plus people who get a permit. So now the fix is not to say, hey, we're going to allow constitutional carry on campus. No, we're still going to restrict it to permit holders,
right,
but we're going to allow 18, 19, and 20-year-olds to get a permit.
correct. Yes, perfectly delineated as far as like all the nuance there.
Yeah.
So that's exciting because, for all 30,000 students or whatever that live in
You're
Laramie,
being generous.
Wyoming.
You're being very generous. You just stated like more than the population of Laramie, Wyoming.
I don't know how many.
So there are not 30,000 enrolled people
It
at the
might be
University of Wyoming.
20,000. I don't know.
But I mean, it's a decently sized school and a beautiful school.
Yeah.
When the wind is not blowing out there, and 7,200 feet elevation. When you have enough oxygen to think, I freaking love Laramie. If you're listening, that this is
Laramie
not
is awesome.
like I'm not like insulting. I'm just clarifying some things that make it unique.
Yep. We
yeah.
passed through there and stopped there for snacks
Sure.
on the regular. As
Go
a family.
Pokes, man. Brown and gold, make it happen.
We have frequented the Wendy's and the McDonald's there a number of times on family trips.
Sure, there's a Sonic even. I mean,
There's a Sonic.
It's a diverse community.
I guess I haven't gotten in
Yeah.
far enough into town in a while
Yeah.
to discover the Sonic. But so that's good stuff because 18-year-olds can do all kinds of things legally as adults. They ought to be able to exercise their rights.
Real quick, while we're on this 18 to 20-year-old thing,
Yeah.
I know we've had an episode, I think, dedicated to this topic
Yes.
last year
Mhm.
because we see a lot of states in this battle, the 18 to 20-year-old battle. There's lawsuits that are open and pending, others that have been decided on both sides, the yay and nay, depending on the state or federal district court. So this is definitely one of those things that continues to heat up, that's likely to maybe be addressed by Supreme Court in the not too distant future. It's not on our list in our podcast outline, but there's also a huge lawsuit that a lot of organizations have jumped onto and supporting in Pennsylvania against the state of Pennsylvania to allow 18 to 20-year-olds to own, possess, and carry guns. So this 18 to 20 thing it's go Wyoming, but know that this is still hot across the country. A lot of things going on, and the battle rages on. And we're going to see some 18 to 20-year-old drama in Virginia when we get to it.
Sure will. Go in the opposite direction.
Yep.
House Bill 39 cleans up cross-state recognition of restored firearm rights.
This is confusing. So
yeah.
I mean, did you read this? This is
ahead.
Weird. So if you had your Second Amendment rights restored in a different state,
say Nebraska,
right, and now you've moved to Wyoming because you like working in oil fields or Stag Arms or something, then what this new law is saying is, then we recognize your rights too. Like you don't have to go through incremental additional legal processes because you had your rights restored in Nebraska. Like we'll recognize that those same rights can be restored now that you are a resident of Wyoming.
Yeah. So we're talking about those that have had it restricted for some reason.
Right.
Usually probably something criminal related.
Likely.
And they go through the process, which can happen, of having rights restored.
Yep.
And Wyoming is just essentially creating almost like a reciprocity kind of process.
Correct.
For that.
Right. I mean, we have 500,000 people in the whole state.
Yep.
Right. Of those, how many people have lost their rights?
Like you said, probably 10.
Yeah, and then of those people, how many have had those rights restored in a different state before they moved? Yeah, this whole law probably applies to 10 people.
Yeah.
So congrats to you.
But somebody, this sort of thing probably happens because somebody knows somebody that decided it was, important enough to make a big deal about.
Sure, yeah.
Which,
and some legislature
good for
now
them.
gets to take credit for doing something awesome. And
yeah,
that's part of the game too.
House Bill 98, Wyoming, making it illegal, like attaching criminal consequences to anybody that tries to enforce extreme risk protection orders.
Right. So it's already illegal. Like we didn't need this law.
Yeah.
Extreme risk protection orders are already not okay in Wyoming. Not allowed. Like if you are a cop, and I don't even know where they think these extreme risk protection orders are coming from.
Yeah.
But if for some magical reason, some extreme risk protection order is created out of, in Wyoming, and you're not allowed to enforce it. Now this new law is saying, and if you do enforce it, by golly, we're gonna get after you. We're gonna fine you money and maybe even criminally prosecute you for stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
So I think it's pretty superfluous, but whatever.
Yep. It just
No downside.
yeah.
It's all good.
Again, it just shows how committed Wyoming is to protecting
not screwing around.
Second Amendment rights.
Yeah.
Going on to West Virginia. All right, so we're still on the plus side here of things going well, and we mentioned the 18 and 20-year-olds thing is a hot topic, and that's also true in West Virginia as well. House Bill 4106 was recently passed. It expands constitutional carry provisions to 18 to 20-year-olds. So constitutional carry was already a law in West Virginia for 21 and up.
Mm-hmm.
This bill takes that a step further to making it anybody 18, anyone that's an adult, a legal adult, can constitutionally carry in the state of West Virginia.
Yeah, I think the exact language is law-abiding adults, law-abiding legal adults is how it's written in the.
I think that's pretty much the. Yeah, it's a good clarification, but probably the assumption. I think I'm not aware of. Maybe it exists. I'm not aware of any constitutional carry laws that say if you're a non-law-abiding adult that you can constitutionally carry. So
there's an assumed thing there, right?
I would think so. But this hasn't been signed into law by the governor of West Virginia just yet, but it's believed that it will happen. But we'll keep you tuned, in on that if something changes, if that does not happen.
Yep.
Moving on to Virginia. This is a big one. Okay, and there's a lot to really cover here. We'll do it as best we can.
Yeah.
It is a mess. How many different laws or bills? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, at least 4 big ones. There's probably some others. There are, to be fair, there are 2 pro-gun bills that Virginia passed. Now, they're pretty meh. Like one is like basically creating a process for handling online concealed carry applications. So it's like, okay, well, it makes it easier to do your permit stuff. The other one allows law enforcement survivors. So my understanding and looking at this, Jacob, is if you're a spouse of a law enforcement officer who was killed in the line of duty, you have the right, if you will, to purchase their service weapon for $1.
Correct. Yeah. Well, so again, this applies to 10 people.
Yeah. So
it's Virginia. 50 people.
So it's like, okay, two pro-gun bills passed. All right. And not yet signed, by the way. None of these bills have been signed yet.
Right. They've all been passed. They're all of these are pending governor's signature.
Yeah. And but again, those 2 pro-gun ones, it's like what were we doing here? Throwing the pro-gun side a bone in addition to, as like a consolation prize to the other 4 bills that absolutely, I mean, they are horrible. Some of these are absolutely horrible bills. I'm going to leave it to you to give us you'll be more efficient in it than me. So what do we got here?
All right. Now, I'm no expert. I've not read any of these bills through, to be clear. There's just too many of them for me to take the time. So I'll just add that disclaimer. Most of the time when we do these, I've read the bills.
Sure.
In this case, I'm relying on some summaries from other organizations.
Yep.
So Senate Bill 749/House Bill 217 bans certain semi-automatic firearms, including many semi-automatic rifles, pistols, shotguns, prohibits the sale of magazines exceeding 15 rounds, and prohibits possession by legal adults under the age of 21 of those same things. So what you have is a situation where you're saying, hey, we're going to make it so these things, these magazines and these guns are going to be illegal now to purchase, to acquire. We're going to grandfather in everybody who already has one, except for 18 to 20-year-olds. Yeah. Even if you already have one, you may no longer have one. You may not possess it, touch it, own it, have it. Like when you turn 21, I don't know what we do. Then can you have it? I don't know how that works. So and you if it's unclear like what semi-automatic guns we're talking about, the response is we don't know either. Unclear.
Sounds a lot like
Colorado drama.
Yeah.
We don't. Yeah. Probably for sure your AR and your AKs are in the naughty list. if this gets signed by the governor.
Yeah.
Beyond that, maybe somebody else, who's reviewed this and paid some attorney to review it could give more details.
Yeah. There's some irony here, of course, in the ban of magazines over 15 rounds, in that, Virginia borders on the District of Columbia,
Yes.
which
Yeah, we
just has
just got done saying that that's unconstitutional. Of course, that was for 10. Maybe 15 is constitutional. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I mean, this is interesting to me. Virginia is an interesting state. I've never lived in Virginia. I've only visited. I've been a tourist in Virginia.
Yep.
But this is a state that's a heavy military state.
yeah,
I mean, extremely heavy military and retired military.
Yep.
Like Colorado. Colorado is also a very heavy military state relatively to our populace.
Yep.
And historically, what you have had for the last 10 years, we've been doing this podcast, is a pretty liberal legislature with a conservative governor.
Yeah.
Who's been just vetoing things right and
Yeah.
left, saving the day for gun owners.
Governor Youngkin.
Yeah, and now he's
Yep.
out. He's
Yep.
gone. And so ain't nobody left to veto all the nasty stuff coming through.
Yep.
And the mix up of the House and the Senate.
Yep.
Not changed.
Yeah, you got Governor Spanberger, who is the governor now, who's quite liberal, especially when it comes to the Second Amendment, it would seem. And so, yeah, you're exactly right that the left-leaning legislature was kept in check by a right-leaning governor for a number of years, and that is no more. So this is their opportunity. I mean, that's probably why you're seeing so much push through so fast, because they are likely, feeling like, hey, this is the one chance.
They've been trying to push these bills through for a decade.
Yeah.
And they just
Yep.
keep getting vetoed. So now it's
Yep.
like, oh, wait, looks like we can put them all through now.
Yep.
So next is Senate Bill
Yep.
727/House Bill 1524, outlaws the carrying and transporting of many types of common firearms on public property. This would include semi-automatic rifles and pistols that are equipped with any of the following features: a fixed magazine with over 10 rounds, a standard magazine with over 20 rounds, a folding stock, the ability to accept suppressors, and a bunch of other obscure stuff.
Mm.
So that's not good. So we're basically saying, like, you can own whatever gun, I guess, but you can't carry it on public property if it has any of these features.
Mhm.
No, that's not okay. Now, I did find it interesting. I thought it was funny that a fixed magazine is limited to, where'd that go?
20, I think.
No,
Is
it's the opposite. A fixed magazine is limited to 10.
10.
A standard magazine with 20. That seems backwards, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, huh?
I heard that wrong.
Yeah. No. So I think they don't know what those words mean.
Hmm.
But that's okay. Then we have Senate Bill 643 and House Bill 1525, prohibits the purchase and possession of certain firearms by legal adults under the age of 21. So again, we're going after those younger, not quite 21-year-old adults, and saying, hey, you guys can't own or possess any of these things. And this is different. This is different than the bill we already talked about. That's going to outlaw a bunch of stuff, but not grandfather in these young adults. This is going above and beyond and saying, beyond those things we already outlawed, that's one thing. But now we got this other additional list of things we didn't outlaw, but we're still going to restrict these young adults from having them. Oh my gosh. I mean, you could. This is criminalizing somebody who legally already purchased and possessed something.
Yes.
Right. An 18-year-old could have gone out and purchased something legally, and this law will get signed, and immediately that person's a criminal.
Yep.
So that's never cool, man.
Yep.
Senate Bill 496/House Bill 110 places further restrictions on the ability for a law-abiding individual to keep a firearm in their vehicle for self-defense. So just more secure storage requirements for vehicles in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And then Senate Bill 323/House Bill 40 ends the centuries-old practice of individuals building lawful firearms for personal use. So this is all about ghost gun stuff, like no serial number, no dice.
Yep.
Can't do that anymore. It's transfer and possession of an unserialized or plastic firearm would be prohibited.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Senate Bill 115 jeopardizes concealed carry permit reciprocity of other states. This one's a while. I did go read this one.
Yeah.
I was curious on this one. So today, the law in Virginia basically says all permits from everywhere are honored here. Like, you got a permit, like, from any U.S. state, we'll honor it in Virginia. That's the current law there. This bill would turn it very similar, like a Nevada-style reciprocity, where a burden is placed on I think it's the Virginia State Police in this case, to establish what other states have comparable training requirements to get a permit. And only if that state has comparable training requirements and meets the other existing criteria, which is things like law enforcement can check the validity of a permit 24 hours a day from that state, then we would honor permits from that state. So you'd lose reciprocity with a ton of states, states that have relatively lax training requirements.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking, no, but Virginia's training requirements are pretty low barrier. Oh, but wait, right? Because then we have Senate Bill 27 / House Bill 21, which creates new standards for responsible. Oh no, it's a different one. Okay, I'm going to jump forward. Here it is. House Bill 916 expands the curriculum requirements for Virginia concealed carry permit classes. So we are going to, in addition to saying, hey, other state, in order to recognize their permit, they have to have a training requirement similar to Virginia's. And by the way, we're going to increase Virginia's training requirements.
Yep.
And you can go read that. And it's comparable to what many other states, including Colorado, have done recently. It's not cool.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Is live fire a part of that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Okay, here's the one that really is getting a lot of people upset. This is Senate Bill 27 / House Bill 21. And a lot of people call this the FFL killer. This is a bill designed to basically put gun stores out of business. It does all sorts of things. It requires businesses to establish and implement all sorts of like subjective, reasonable controls over the manufacture, sale, distribution, use, and marketing of firearm-related products. It also creates a bunch of like civil action allowances. So basically, if someone thinks that a gun dealer failed to put in proper protocols, what they think is reasonable, then they can sue. They can file for damages against that gun dealer. So it's going to make it really, really hard to be a gun dealer in Virginia for sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be nasty.
The goal there being, let's legislate to death gun-related businesses.
Yes, and that there, Virginia didn't invent that concept.
Yeah.
Look what's going on in Washington and Oregon and California. There's some nasty. Colorado to some degree. Senate Bill 272 / House Bill 626 limits who can carry firearms at public institutions of higher learning. So Virginia actually has always had a pretty rich history of allowing campus carry with some restrictions and things, and we're trying to tighten that up and reduce how many people could carry on a campus. Senate Bill 173 / House Bill 229 prohibits the possession of any weapons in a hospital that provides mental health services or development services. And by the way, that law specifically provides that any weapons seized in violation of that law will be forfeited to the Commonwealth. I thought that was interesting.
Wow.
So yeah, like if today you've been, for whatever reason you have, need to go to a hospital, and that hospital doesn't have a specific restriction in place, like, well, too bad. The state law is now going to force the restriction on those hospitals and not allow them the choice, assuming they have provide mental health services or development services. I don't know what hospital wouldn't.
Yeah.
So that's the rundown of all the nasty.
There are a couple of bills that were defeated this legislative session, including a $500 suppressor tax, a 5-day waiting period on gun purchases, an 11% ammo and firearms sales tax, and a permit to purchase setup, kind of like what we are dealing with here in Colorado right now. So, but I hearing you do the rundown of all those different bills, breaking them down, and then you put on top of that stuff that was defeated. Like they're pushing all out for everything they can get across the goal line this year in Virginia. And right now, all of these bills that Jacob just outlined for us are passed through the Senate and the House. They are sitting on Governor Spanberger's desk, waiting her signature. She has till April 13th to sign.
Yeah.
So now's the time. You might think it's a lost cause. However, light up the governor's office, okay? Call, email, visit, rally, do all the things to say, hey, let's not sign these. Let's veto these.
I think there's an important lesson to be taken, not just from this Virginia thing, but just the trend we're seeing over the last several years. When these legislators are considering gun control related bills to propose, It mattereth not to them at all if these things are constitutional
Mm-hmm.
and will withstand the muster of the courts.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care. There's no way they could care and still try this stuff. Like, we're talking about several proposals. Most of these proposals, frankly, in Virginia, have been ruled as unconstitutional by certain courts already,
Yep.
right? Like, including the one across the river. So
Yep.
it's not like, that is not a criteria for these people. They are not sitting down and saying, well, wait a minute, before we propose this bill, like, is it constitutional? Like, would this be allowed under the U.S. Constitution? Like, something that should be a kind of big deal question when you're a legislature and your job is to bring proposals to that body. And yet, clearly, that's not the question, because none of these would withstand that question. At very least, the answer would be, well, it might not be constitutional because we've had these decisions by these different courts, and this is kind of a debated topic, and this court said yes, and that court said no, so maybe we shouldn't go see if we can shove this into law right now.
Yep.
Like, that is not a question that's coming up. And so a lot of us who live in these states, including Riley and I, we're left in positions where, yeah, we want to go fight the good fight and see if we can prevent these things from becoming law. But ultimately, in the back of the head, you're kind of thinking, well, I guess we're just going to have to wait for this to become law, and then we're going to have to go fight it in the courts.
Yeah.
Because that's how you win. That's how the Second Amendment is winning today. Like, us pro-gun people, we're winning in the courts.
Yep. 100%. Well said. Well, we're already at an hour. We got one more story. This is kind of, I mean, I think we can cover this pretty quickly, but it's pretty wild, I think, when you look at the numbers that are going to come out of this one. This is out of Michigan, and this is a red flag report, it says here, shedding light on confiscation orders. All right, so we're talking about extreme risk protection orders, or red flag laws, okay, that have become popularized, and a number of states have passed over the last decade. This is bringing out some statistics of those ERPOs being used in the state of Michigan.
Right.
So let me give you some of the statistics here. All right. First of all, it says 89% of all confiscation orders were issued ex parte, which means the person they're issued against has no part in the hearing to make a decision on issuing that order or not. So they're done ex parte, outside of that party, like,
right, without any due process.
Correct.
For the Constitution.
Yeah. So somebody files the requisite paperwork, whatever that is, for the ERPO. Presumably somebody that has cause and the authority to do so. That's submitted to a judge. The judge reviews and says, yep, okay, rubber stamp, boom.
Yep. Don't need to hear from the defendant or the person whose rights we are infringing on. We're just going to make the decision
go take their
based
guns
on the limited info we have. We're on the one side of the story.
Yep, take their guns. 89% of those have no due process as part of that process. Let's see. It says, now this is interesting. So ex parte orders increased by more than 30% over the year prior.
Yeah, this is looking at this report's based on 2024 ERPOs, and so this is comparing to 2023.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, thank you for the clarification. Oh yeah, 2025 annual report. So looking back 1 year. Okay.
Yep.
Of 459 ex parte requests. So that's that 89%. Okay, so there's 459 of them. Only 78 or 17% were denied. Okay. So yeah, it's a small fraction, in other words.
Yeah, your success rate's going to be pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Michigan, if you go file an ERPO against somebody, you have a really good chance of getting it granted by the judge.
Yep. Here's what's crazy. It says the law has been used against children as young as 6, 8, and 10 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, this is wild to me.
How does that even work?
Yeah, who's filing? Their parents? like I don't remember the Michigan law well enough to remember who has the legal authority to file an ERPO. In most of these states, it's like restricted to family members, people who live in the same household members in the same household. But some of these states, I just don't remember Michigan. It could be people like a school teacher.
Yep.
You know, so school teachers like,
or administration.
Right. Like, oh my gosh, I'm a second grade teacher and the 7 and 8 year olds here are freaking me out.
Yep.
I'm going to talk to the administration, and my vice principal is going to go file one of these things. But the issue is, of course, that when the court executes this, by the nature of how the law is defined, they are not like they're going to take all the guns in the word is possession in the law, but unfortunately, possession would mean in the home at all.
Yeah.
So I might be, hanging out at the house, and the cops come over and say, "We have this court order says we have to take all the guns out of the possession of your 7-year-old,"
Mm-hmm.
and so that would mean all the guns in this house, and I'd be like, "What? Like my 7-year-old doesn't have access to any guns." Like what you're saying is you're gonna take my guns, like
Mm-hmm.
without any hearing or due process at all. Wild stuff, man. Wild
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Here's another interesting statistic. Out of those petitioners of these ERPO orders, 91% are white individuals. And out of respondents, so those that are having the guns taken from them as part of these orders, 34% are black. So we're over indexing on both sides, most likely, as far as who's filing these red flag for these orders and who they are being filed against.
Yeah. So there's
this
over
racial
indexing
disparity.
Yeah.
And I don't tend to get like super into like racial issues because I think people like to make it too simplify. There's way more nuance where like race gets involved with things surrounding guns than probably most people realize. But this is definitely kind of like that's interesting. Like
there's potential evidence that suggests
mm-hmm.
that this is being used as a racial weapon against a specific race.
Yep, and that definitely should be a concern based on what we're seeing here. So that's the concern. So this is pretty concerning evidence out of the state of Michigan of how this is just one state and one example. I mean, we've seen some things here in Colorado since our law was passed, 2018 or 2019 or thereabouts, where people are filing the for these orders that have no business filing, and stuff like that. Just all kinds of abuse. There's been media reports, local news stations that have done reports on some of that here in Colorado. Now we're talking about Michigan, and just looking at the numbers of how these are being used, how they're being issued, the fact that, basically, if you have no idea, if you're living in Michigan and you're a gun owner and you maybe have kids in your home, you could have a knock at your door randomly one day out of the blue, not expecting it because there's no heads up. There's no summons to a court before a judge, nothing.
Nada.
Just cops showing up at your doorstep saying, we're here to collect your guns.
Yep. Here's our court order.
Here's an order.
Yeah.
It's pretty dang concerning.
I'm also concerned about the number of these requests in a year. The population of Michigan, I don't know. Is it 10 million people there or something? 12
wouldn't
million?
Surprise me. Yeah.
But for there to be basically, call it like 510 or something of these in a single year, is a high number compared to some of the other reports we've seen out of other states. That's like, whoa. Like, people in the state are taking advantage of this thing. Like they are utilizing this tool. Now, what we can't get from a report is
10.1 million.
Oh, so I wasn't far off my first guess.
Yeah.
So what we can't get from this report is, has this successfully stopped any violent acts?
Right.
We don't know. We don't know. It's hard to say. I think we could talk about, maybe we should do a whole episode about red flag orders and how they're relatively silly. But what we do know is that the application of this does not look like it's been particularly just, and it is it's erring on the side of no due process.
Yeah.
Even though potentially where due process could be observed.
Yep.
And that's highly concerning.
That is the concern for sure, because due process is a constitutionally based right as well as Second Amendment rights.
Yeah.
And so, you have a right to defend yourself. You have a right to face your accuser. You have, you should have the right to be before a judge and plead your case.
Yeah, before one of your constitutional rights.
Here we have over 500 people who's, over 400, out of 500 some odd.
Yeah.
It's 459 of these people ex parte, not given the opportunity to defend themselves.
Nope. I mean, eventually they would be,
Yeah,
but in the moment their rights were
but
restricted and the guns were seized, they were not.
what other rights do we, accept that kind of violation of due process?
None.
Yeah, and so that's the big concern here. This is happening way more frequently than it ought to be. Because like I could see ex parte hearings occurring in some very like limited, like I could see an argument being made that it would be acceptable in some very limited situations. That there's a clear justification for here's why we, if you have
Yeah,
an
their social media
articulable.
posts show they're going to shoot up a school tomorrow.
Well, and it could be articulated as a, if we give this person a warning that, to
Sure, it might drive
appear
them to
before a
violence.
judge,
Yeah,
that may exactly. It's like but I think you got to be able to articulate and clearly show that there's evidence or a strong, like probable cause that would be a concern
yeah,
to summon them to a court to defend themselves on something like this. And clearly that's not happening. Like it's not the exception from what we're seeing here. It is the rule that most of these are ex parte.
yeah, yeah.
So Michigan, you got some crap to get figured out up there, and probably setting yourself up for some legal challenges, I would suspect. So
Yeah, that's not wrong.
and they're not alone. They're not the only state dealing with these kinds of things. So
Yeah, and we've had a lot of states dodge bullets this session. I'll add, New Mexico, you've dodged some pretty nasty stuff this year. Minnesota, you dodged some bullets.
Yeah.
This year here in Colorado, we've dodged a bullet. We might still have a few coming, but anyway, it's not over. The legislative session continues in a lot of states.
It's real easy to listen and tune into the podcast like this and hear some things going on in Virginia or whatever, and thinking, well, I'm in Wyoming, and thinking I'm safe here in Wyoming. Okay, you probably are safe in Wyoming for now, but the trend we've seen over the years is, like when I moved to Colorado, Jacob, you remember this too, around when you moved to Colorado, pretty close to the same time. This was still kind of a middle of the road state in many respects. And we've watched things go towards that anti-gun side, first kind of gradually, and then it's picked up steam, and it's picked up more steam. And initially it was sort of, hey, we're going to take this law we see used in California or New York, and we're going to try to apply that here. Now places like Colorado are becoming the proving ground for like, hey, let's try this newfangled law.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that in Virginia, and you're seeing that in some of these other states that, previously, like you mentioned, Virginia used to be more of a safe state where it came to Second Amendment rights. And that is not appearing to be the case right now.
No.
So all these things are meant, I think, to, no matter who you are, no matter where you live, as harbingers of like, this is what could come your way. Like, this is the stuff to be watching for. These are the tactics that they are trying to use to restrict our rights. We want you to know about that stuff. We want you to be standing up and fighting for your rights.
Yeah, and understand that the arguments that they're making.
Yeah.
How are they justifying this? What is it that they're saying about it? Why? How are they coming to the conclusion that this would be a public good? Because understanding that is really what arms you to have quality and reasonable, conversations with people in your circle.
Well, it's been good to do a legislative update episode with you, Jacob. First one in a little while.
Yeah,
so good catch up on some of these things. Hope to circle back around with another legislative update episode perhaps next month. So try to get back on doing them a little bit more frequently than what we have in the last few months here. So, guys, a reminder of today's episode sponsors were CCW Safe, ccwsafe.com to learn more. Check out their plans. And that's the cool thing is they got multiple plans that you can probably find one that fits your needs and your budget pretty well. So check out ccwsafe.com today. We appreciate you guys' support of them as one of our main sponsors. And also it's not necessarily we're going to require you to pay any money or do anything like this, but just download our concealed carry gun tools app. We appreciate that. It is one of the more popular, higher rated apps in the Apple store that I know of, and perhaps Google Play.
We have way more competition than we used to.
Yeah.
I mean, we really were the first app to do a lot of the things our app does.
Yeah.
I know there's some other apps that have, I won't say they've copied, but they have similar features.
Yeah.
But I think we continue to be a leader in that space. And yeah, if you search concealed carry app, I bet you ours might just be the top organic search result.
Yeah, you can look for our logo. You see it, those of you watching the video, you'll see in the lower left corner. That's the logo. It's on the app. But yeah, Concealed Carry Gun Tools is the name of the app, and download it today. Make use of it. It's there. It's completely free. There's no ads in it or anything.
Nope,
So
just freebie.
we appreciate you guys' support of us and our mission and everything we do here at concealedcarry.com.
Yeah, free to them. Costs us a fortune.
Oh yeah.
Please
Well,
enjoy.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's a wrap for today's episode. We'll leave you for now and see you back next week with another episode. Until then, a reminder to train right, train often, and train safe.
So you can fight hard, fight fast, and fight true. Take care.